Shabbat Shalom, everybody. I want to thank you for joining us today. Today is the 10th of December, 2022, the year 5,783 on the Jewish calendar. And today is PARASHA VAYISHLACH, which means, and he sent. And we're going to do another brief, just a recap and a small, very short teaching on this parasha. So my name is Rabbi Clint Harel Fry, and I want to just start this time by opening in prayer. Avinu Malkeinu, our Father in heaven, I want to thank you for today, the privilege and honor again that it is to be in your presence, all because of what your son Yeshua did on the cross for us. And I just want to ask you to teach us your ways, and that which I would say would be not for me, but from you, for your glory. In the name of Yeshua, amen. So this Torah portion comes from the book of Genesis, chapter 32, verse 4, which actually is verse 3 in the Hebrew Bibles, through 36, chapter 36, verse 43. The Haftarah, or prophetic portion, comes from Obadiah, chapter 1, verse 1 through 21. The Sephardic and the Ashkenazi is Hosea, chapter 11, verse 7 through chapter 12, verse 12. The Brit, Chadashah, or the New Testament, is Matthew, chapter 2, verse 13 through 23. Also, Matthew, chapter 26, verses 36 through 46. John, chapter 1, verse 19 through chapter 2, verse 12. Acts, chapter 3, verses 18 through 26. 1 Corinthians chapter 5, verses 1 through 13. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 1 through 32. Titus chapter 2, verses 1 through 15. 1 John chapter 3, verses 4 through 10. And Revelation 7, verses 1 through 17. And yes, we have actually spent the day reading all of these different portions of the Bible. And it's beautiful to do. So I hope you enjoyed your Shabbat just as much as we did. Today, we're going to talk about two things about this parasha that are quite interesting. First, we're going to talk about Jacob, the wrestler. So I've always wondered, does it ever feel like the life of faith is a constant struggle? Obviously, it is for all of us, right? Is it sometimes difficult to hold on to Hashem, to Adonai, and learn a lesson from Jacob, the wrestler? So in this week's Torah portion, Jacob is assaulted basically by an unknown assailant in the darkness of the night, right? Jacob wrestles him down and refuses to let him go. He refuses to let go of his mysterious assailant. He even demands a blessing of him before he lets him go. I mean, this guy wrestled with him, it says, all night. The assailant asks him, "What is your name?" As if he didn't know, right? But as Jacob holds on to this man with all of his strength, he answers Yaakov, or Jacob, meaning heel grabber or supplanter. And the name is a reference to his talent for not letting go. So it could be a great wrestling name. Then the man said, "Your name shall no longer be Yaakov, but Yisrael, for you have striven with God and with men and have prevailed." Because remember, he struggled with his brother too, right? Genesis 32, 28. So Jacob, Yaakov, wrestles with Hashem. He struggles with Hashem and men. He struggled with Hashem for his blessing. And he struggled with Esau for his blessing. With Isaac for the blessing. With Laban, also his father-in-law, for the blessing. And in each of the struggles, he eventually prevailed. He is Jacob the wrestler, Yaakov the wrestler. Yaakov pursued a life of wrestling because he recognized that the blessing of Hashem was worth the struggle. Thing for which he saw, his brother was willing to trade a bowl of soup, right? Lentil soup for. So Jacob was willing to wrestle for his whole life. We learn from Jacob the value of the eternal, right? Not just the temporary, like food. We learn to hold on to Hashem and to refuse to let go of him. Too often, we've noticed this in many of our lives, I'm sure throughout our lives, we are quick to let go of him. When he does not answer our prayer, maybe, we let go of him. When he smites us, maybe something happened in our life, we don't know. When he touches our hip or strikes us, we let go of him. Jacob did not let go, even though the angel had struck his hip and caused his hip to be dislocated. Can you imagine the pain? I probably would have let go simply from the pain, but he did not let go. So Hashem did not want him to let go. He just didn't want him to, but he tried to make him do so. Neither does he want us to let go, regardless of the pain we might feel in our lives or what's going on. He wants a people that will hold on to him, cling to him, grasping his heel through the dark night. And trust me, people, with everything that's about to start in the next year, with the 7 years of tribulation and the believers being persecuted and put to death, many will let go. Pray to Hashem, to Adonai, that you do not let go of him, no matter what happens. We do not understand why Hashem conceals himself at times when he could reveal himself. We do not understand why we must grope in the darkness to apprehend him, or why he leaps on us in the metaphorical darkness of life. But he does. He truly does. So probably our darkness may be self-imposed. From Jacob's story, we learn that there are two kinds of people in this darkness. There are those who will hold on to Hashem, to Adonai, and those who will not. Modern man says, I can't see him, and I can't hold on to what I cannot see. A person overcomes only by emulating our father Jacob, who did not let go, even in the darkness. The second thing I'd like to talk about in this is the power of the tongue. This hit me a couple years ago when I was reading this parasha. Did Jacob's harsh or rash words kill his beloved wife? We all know about Jacob, how he loved Rachel. The story of Rachel's death teaches us an important lesson about the power of our tongue. And as Proverbs says, death and life are in the power of the tongue. Proverbs 18:21. So in Rachel or Rachel's case, that appears to have been especially true. If you remember, Jacob was tricked into marrying the sister Leah first before he could have Rachel. He loved Rachel more. Jacob and his family were making their way south through the land of Canaan toward Hebron, where his father Isaac still lived. He had just taken his wife and children and all their belongings and left his father-in-law Laban. Rachel had taken her father's idols. So while the family traveled, Rachel, who was pregnant, went into labor with her second child. She had named her previous son Joseph, meaning may he add, that is another son. Hashem had answered her prayer and she gave birth to a second son. Rachel suffered a very severe labor. And as the child was born, the midwife tried to cheer her up by saying, do not fear, for you have another son. But Rachel knew she was dying. And she died some distance from Ephrath, which is an older name for Bethlehem. Her tomb is right outside of Bethlehem these days. It's right outside the cement walls that surround Bethlehem. So Jacob buried her there. He entombed her there beside the road and set up a sacred stone over her tomb. The story provides the etiology behind this landmark. The Torah remarks, Jacob set up a pillar over her grave, and that is the pillar of Rachel's grave to this day. Genesis 35:20. And as I said, it's still there. You can go visit. So, Jewish tradition connects this tragic death of Rachel with the story from the previous Torah portion last week. In this previous portion, we read that Rachel, like I said, stole her father Laban's household idols when Jacob and his family fled back to Canaan. Jacob did not know about this theft, obviously. So when Laban overtook Jacob and the family, he demanded the return of his household gods. Rachel was hiding them in her tent, so no one knew that she had them. So Jacob foolishly swore an oath to Laban. He says, "The one with whom you find your gods shall not live." Kind of reminds me of that other story in the Old Testament, the Tanakh, where the man asked God for victory in the war, and he says, "The first thing that will come out of my house will be put to death." And his daughter comes out, first thing out of the house, and he put her to death. So we need to really be careful what we say with our mouths. With these words, Jacob basically inadvertently spoke a curse over his loved wife, his mostly loved wife. He did not know it. So though our mother Rachel was not guilty of any of the transgressions for which someone might ordinarily die in childbirth, however, she did take the household items, which kind of means that she had a idolatrous heart, I would think. All right, she still worshiped the gods, these idols, not a good thing. Nevertheless, Jacob said, "With whomever you find your gods, they shall not live." So she was punished by her, but her judgment was not carried out until she was in childbirth. So the story of Rachel's death illustrates the master's warning against swearing oaths. All right, he said, "Nor shall you make an oath by your head, for you cannot make one hair white or black. But let your statement be yes, yes, or no, no." Anything beyond these is of evil. This is found in Matthew chapter 5, verses 36 and 37. So Rachel's tragic and premature death sets her apart from our other 6 mothers. So according to tradition, Sarah, Rebecca, Leah, Bilhah, and Zilpah all rest with their husbands in the Machpelah in Hebron. Okay, yes, they're all buried there. Rachel lies alone beside the way to Bethlehem, just outside Bethlehem. She appeared again alone, mourning the exiles being led off to Babylon. Jeremiah 31:15. She raised her voice again over the slaughter of the innocents of Bethlehem in Matthew chapter 2. So as I said, people still visit her tomb today, and it's an incredible place to visit. And just remember what can happen when we use our tongue in an inappropriate way. So I want to thank you for joining us today, and I just want to bless you with a Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for joining us today. For those of you who would like to join us for Hanukkah, the Rebbe and Gabriela will be creating a form which one can sign up for and join us for the Feast of Hanukkah, which is coming up in another week. We'll be starting on Sunday, the 18th of December in the evening. So we want to thank you again. Shabbat Shalom to all of you. May you be blessed. Also, if you'd like, there is in the description below all of the links possible to check out our website, get any of the free things that we have for you, things you can download, all of our resources. If you'd like to help us in any way financially, we cannot make it without you in these times. Very difficult. So we ask that if you would find it in your heart that you could help us in any way you would seem fit, we thank you for that. There is a link for donations also below. So thank you for joining us. If you have any comments or questions, please feel free to use the link below for contacting us. I prefer people do not ask serious long questions in the comments area. I think it's more appropriate to contact, and that way we can write back and forth via email. Thank you very much.